live. We are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Just a Little More. We are so excited. We thank you so much for tuning in and dealing with some of our technical difficulties because we trying new things here at Just a Little More. And we're going live so that you guys can be connected with us live for this great conversation that we're going to have today. Again, you connected Just a Little More, which is a show that is dedicated to just a little more understanding, a little bit more tea, because I love a little tea in conversation, and a whole lot of love. We have some extra special guests today. One guest is on freeze frame, but you see her picture; she already looking pretty in that glow right there. But we have an extra special guest here. Mr. Gary Stallings.
Hello.
Gary, say hey to the people.
Hello, beautiful, powerful people. Thank y'all for joining. Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Oh, I'm so excited. Listen, and I'm so excited because we also have the person who made sure that we were able to, kind of do this and be able to come on this platform. We had Miss, I always say Chana, but it's Enchanta Jackson. She is here with us today, and she's going to be sharing her amazing point of view. Chance, say hey. We can't see your picture. See your picture.
I know it's because you have to start. It's saying that you have to start my video. So
Let me make you a co-host real quick.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we made you a co-host.
Can you do the same thing for me?
There you go. Now look at her. Look at this. She just came in and shook her head and stuff that. She just came and said, "Oh my God, I just didn't even know."
Whitney.
Say hey to the people.
Hey y'all. Hey, it's good to see you. I haven't seen Jonathan in several years, or Gary or Ray, so I'm really thankful to be a part of the conversation and excited about what we're about to talk about.
All right. So Ray is going to be coming on. I got to see what's going on with his picture. The Ray's usually
start his video too, boo.
It's still not letting me. It's just saying make him a host, so it's not make him. There you
go. Oh, let me get that background out the way. I went to another room.
Yeah. All right, hey Ray.
Hey y'all. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Well, we are here. We're getting started. We're excited about today's show because we want to take this time to show some, reverence and honor to the life of George Floyd, who was just recently taken. His life was taken. He was murdered by some police officers, and we want to show remembrance to him and honor to his life. And also, we also want to celebrate the lives of the protesters who are out there right now on the front line, fighting for our freedoms, fighting for our rights. I celebrate the looters. I celebrate the people who are considered violent or non-violent. I celebrate you all because you're out there and you're fighting. And I honor you with this show. I pray that you are safe. I pray that your rights are being recognized, because a lot of stuff right now is not being recognized. So I pray that you are getting all of your rights that are endowed by you because you are an American citizen. So I hope that you are being able to be heard and seen. And I pray that you're safe for you and your family. So this show is about for you, and we celebrate and we honor you. Okay, so I'm doing a lot.
And Jonathan, one more thing.
Yes.
I also want us to show. I know we're going to get to it, but I want to honor them too, all our trans brothers and sisters.
Yes.
I know we're going to talk about that at one point, but since we're talking about honoring, I want to make sure we, let them know we honor them as well.
Yeah, that's really important. And this show is for them. It's for every Black life. This is not an All Lives Matter show. If it is, please click off. It's okay, but this is not an All Lives Matter show. This is a Black Lives Matter show. And this is everybody that is in the Black community. This is a Black Lives Matter show, okay? Yes, we know all lives matter, but we were talking about the lives that are right now being taken. And so we really want to, put attention on that, okay? So I want to start tonight by something I saw. So I'm a church person. So, I've been seeing all these church people, who's real super saved. They so saved, they're going to portals. They be like, oh, I'm so saved. And they were talking about, this is just so much. These protesters, they out here looting. I just can't believe it. Oh my God, this is not what we need to be doing. And so I want to ask the panelists, and I'm also looking at some of your your comments as well. So because I want to honor your comments, please type in your comments, and so that we can hear what you are saying, so that we can recognize your questions. You can ask questions because we is live. And so we want to be able to address what you're saying. But also I want to address it to the panelists. Do you think there is a right or wrong way to protest? I want to know. Who want to go first? Not all at once. Okay.
I don't think it's a right. I think we're changing the way we protest. And let me backphrase that. I don't even think we changing the way we protest. We're bringing awareness of a way that's kind of like important. Like people want us to be silent, and we had leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. who kind of led that kind of movement of like a peaceful way. And then people have these ideas of like Malcolm X, who led his a different way. So I feel like right now we're kind of in the middle, and people are stepping up a little bit more than what we have seen in the past. And yeah, just going about it more ways. And the difference now, we got cell phones too, so everything is televised and it's in your face, which is a good thing and also like a traumatic experience as well. So I feel like in a way it's a little different, but in a way it's same. It's just like technology is way different.
I mean, sure. I think you can define any term you want to, but I think there's a fact here that how do you police protesting against lawlessness? We're not protesting animal rights. Love animals, by the way. We're not protesting. We're protesting the lynching of Black people. And so how do you police that? How do you put that into a framework? You can't. And so I think what you're seeing is rage and anger and this sort of outcry. I just don't think there's a legitimate way to police what we're protesting against.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, I believe in escalation. You start out, kind of like the campaign ladder. You start out and you ask, and if you don't get that, then you escalate your tactic. And I feel like what we're seeing is like over the years, folks have been advocating against police brutality. We've been asking for statues to be removed. We've been asking for prosecutors to hold killer cops accountable. And we haven't seen that over and over again. And so after a while, of course, people are going to start escalating. And the interesting part about this escalation is all of a sudden statues are getting taken down. All of a sudden school boards are deciding they're not going to have police in their schools. I mean, these are things that we've been asking for years. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we hear you. So obviously protesting is working,
Yeah.
It's working and it's effective. There's various, like Ray was saying, there's various different ways to protest, and Gary was saying various different ways to protest. I believe in all different ways to protest and different ways to do activism. But I love it. I'm very proud to see, just how down everyone is. And like, when I saw that they set the police precinct on fire, I said, wow. That is some bravery and some courage, because it sent a clear message, It sent a clear message. And I think it's really interesting too, because we've been seeing Martin Luther King's daughter tweet a lot lately and talk about how her father is seen as this passive, nonviolent man. And she's saying that, like, if you believe that about him, you really don't know my father. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. But so I've also seen this. What should you say, or what do you think when people are looting? Because I've heard a lot of people like, so why are they looting? Why are they, destroying their community? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think what's interesting about that, Enchanta, what you were talking about, and Ray as well, is that we have been crying out. What's interesting is we're comparing buildings to bodies.
Yes. Yeah.
We're comparing buildings to bodies. And I know small business owners, I know people who have been impacted by this, but when I think about the video and murder that's going on, you would think that would be enough. It's a shame that burning up a Target or burning up a building is what's getting attention and not the
It's
actual
the news.
murder.
Yeah.
You mean,
Yeah,
that's
like
talking about their target.
The actual murder, right?
But I think it's two things. Fuck it up. Like, I don't care, but I also want people to understand that if you do that, you gotta like, it's still a systematic system that we gotta dismantle. Like, even though we burn it down, let's hit it where it hurt. We know that money like rules everything. Stop going to the stores. Like, I'm not saying looting is wrong, but I feel like, oh damn, we messed the stores up. They're gonna get insurance. They're gonna start back over. The building is gonna, flourish again. Let's hit them where it's hurt. Let's not go into their store anymore. Let's support like Black-owned businesses. Let's do it that way. If we really, really want to make an impact. I'm not saying I disagree with looting. I'm fine with it, but I also want us to just be aware of, like, if we want to really make an impact, we need to do it in a way that's going to really, like, bring that change, and that change is going to be hit them where their pockets hurt.
Yeah. I was thinking about with looting because I'm from Birmingham, and I saw that they had started trying to loot Western Hills Mall. Please don't loot.
Yes, yeah, don't do that.
Western Hills Mall. There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Yeah,
It's the city trends. Please.
That's your store.
All alone.
But and that part is kind of crazy to me.
And they do have a rainbow. They do.
And we know you love rainbow.
That has been there for years. It has stood the test of time.
I need you to stop shopping at Rainbow. Stop shopping at Rainbow immediately.
Shirts and shoes.
Target.
Little bodycon dress.
Yeah. What you said?
I got me some Spanx to get my body comes together, honey. But I was gonna say, Target sells a lot of items that rely on prison labor, and so how can you really have a lot of sympathy with a corporation like that that's paying prisoners 75 cents an hour to make products? So I don't have sympathy for Target, and Target actually released a statement about how it's nothing. I will say we have a close friend who we went to school with. I won't name him, but his sister is in Minneapolis, and her store did get looted. She has like a couple of Boost Mobiles. And I think it is interesting, like, to think about, okay, so how do we still support the Black-owned businesses during this time? And she's created a GoFundMe, and people have started like donating to her GoFundMe. But like Ray said, like, a lot of these places do have insurance, And so I think Gary, I'm sorry, I know one of y'all done said it. I can't remember which one, but a lot of these places do have insurance, and it will kick in. But I do think, like, thinking about like the Black-owned businesses is something that we need to do. They have been having a really nice strategy in like DC where people are like tagging their businesses, like this is Black-owned, like letting people know, But also, I mean, some people who are protesting and looting, I mean, aren't our people either. So
Thank you.
And I have seen a lot of white people looting, and the media has not been covering that. And I was just like, I saw a lot of Black people being shown, but I'm like, it's white people that are looting as well, And I also saw a business, and that they released a statement that was like, yes, we did get hit, but we will rebuild, and we understand why it did happen. So I think a lot of businesses can work and say that, oh, people are angry. We understand. We have insurance. But we understand the cause and why it is going on. So yeah,
I think we have to be clear that looting this is a nuanced conversation, right? When you're talking about access, right?
Yeah.
Talking about access to things which has most of us checking our privilege about what we have access to and what we can afford and what we do. And then also, I think we have to be sensitive about history repeating itself. Anarchists, these groups infiltrate like protests. For years, there have been people agitating causes like white groups and groups that wanted to infiltrate and like show, paying Black people to perform these acts. This stuff has been going on for a very long time. So looting is par for the course, if you will. It is a par for the course of what we're experiencing. And I just think it's interesting that looting is the main subject and not the life. And I keep going back to that because I think it's important that we understand the intention of the protest, because they'll take the looting and make that the subject. When the point is, a man was murdered in cold blood in front of us. This is history repeating itself, but no one wants to talk about, you know, the sort of agitation that happens and the access. And I know for me personally, access is a thing. We have certain access to things that our brothers and sisters don't. Education, things like that. It's stuff like that that is in the psyche of our young people and in the psyche of our communities that have felt ignored and abused for a very long time. And so looting is a part of protesting. It's sort of what I come to realize in checking my own privilege as, you know, a Black man, a millennial, if you will.
No, my biggest thing that, and I guess it kind of, because you talked about privilege a little bit, and I guess it can kind of segue to this. We've talked a lot about Black Lives Matter, and I've seen a lot of memes, and I'm glad Ray brought this up. We've seen a lot of trans people who are being murdered. It's a video that's out there that's viral of this trans woman who is getting beaten by a whole bunch of men. And I don't know the cause of it, but it just shows a video of this trans woman getting killed. And I can't think of the other name of the trans man who was murdered as well. I think about
Tony McDade.
And so we talk about this of Black Lives Matter. And I think that it is a place of privilege sometimes with heterosexual folks. I don't know. As far as like them not including gay lives, trans lives, you know, in that kind of conversation. What do y'all feel about that? Do you feel like when they say Black Lives Matter, have you seen when they say Black Lives Matter that gay lives, trans lives has been included in that conversation?
I think definitely, I think definitely in the Black male community, the idea of masculinity is just this fragile idea and concept. And I don't think that there's a sweeping agreement that the Black Lives Matter movement is for all of us. I don't think that. I think that we've seen it in comments under posts about trans women and trans men. And I think we've seen it like time after time. It just doesn't get as much attention and concern. And from us is the scary part, is that we don't see the value in their lives. Like we've othered them within our own community, which feels completely terrible. I can't even watch the video really because it's us, it's Black brothers, it's us in these acts. But the masculinity idea is just very fragile in our community in general.
And I have to kind of add on too, I've seen this as well where, you know, we'll say Black Lives Matter and when we saw this Black man killed, it's like, oh, you know, it's horrible. And I don't take away, but Sandra Bland was killed. And I think that it was like, oh, she's killed, but let's move on or let's keep moving or let's, you know, her name is forgotten. I see that sometimes with Black women, that, you know, a lot of times Black women are in the fight, but Black men are not recognizing them as well and pulling them up as well. And we both, you know, it's a duality in that Black women are fighting for us. They are fighting for Black
leading the march.
And that a lot of the time Black men are not, you know, taking that time and saying, hey, you know, this Black woman's life has been taken, because Black women's lives have been taken as well. And, you know, then that deserves as much media coverage as George Floyd's life has been taken. It does not take away from George Floyd's life, but you know what I'm saying? But it deserves the same media attention as well.
I definitely think what y'all are saying is so right. I think with cis or trans Black women, you don't really hear about it as much. And it speaks to a lot of the homophobia that we have to break down in our own community, a lot of the sexism that we have to break down. I will say, folks, within the movement, I have been pretty proud of because they have created that space. But it's hard. It kind of goes back to what Gary was saying, like the toxic masculinity. And I even hate to call masculinity toxic because it shouldn't be, you know?
Absolutely.
Like femininity, masculinity, it shouldn't be toxic. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it allows us to have a broader conversation around, like, you know, why is it that these other situations these other deaths don't get as much attention? Or why can't people name off, you know, police brutality outside of Black men, you know? But even Breonna Taylor down in Kentucky, it pulls me up because it's just like no one has been charged. And you hear about it a little bit here and there, but no one's really.
But see, this is what I want to bring back to that point about like the power of media. Because I feel like if we didn't have any footage of George Floyd, people wouldn't be as vocal as they are now. We actually have footage of what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to take away from that, but it does give the police, it does give these bad people ways to hide the truth. It gives them ways to like change their stories. The police officer changed their stories with George Floyd, but once we saw the actual footage, you were lying. And so it's just like I'm kind of amazed that like, well, social media, but then even with the police, they're going about it the wrong way. We push these laws for them to wear the cameras are off. They have these strategies. They go to these courses about how to approach Black people and go into Black neighborhoods. They're doing whatever they want to do. So it's just, I don't know. I kind of look at the power of media, and then also how police officers and other people can kind of really switch these stories to make it fit, like to support them.
Mm-hmm.
And Chance, I really like that point that you brought up about with Ray, the media piece. You know, the onus is on us to know this news about our people.
Yes.
And I find it very interesting that in all this age of social media, the Ahmaud Arbery case, I didn't even know about that until months later. Yeah. There was no outcry, there was no push, there was no movement. And so what's interesting to me is with the Breonna Taylor, we shouldn't need a video to believe. We should need a video to move. We shouldn't need a video to act. And I think that's what the issue here is for like so many reasons. We always are waiting for that impetus or that move. The impetus is in the data. It's all there. It's in lives. And I think it's so interesting that we're counting up bodies and minimizing them to a video. The thousands and thousands of bodies in one video, there's no correlation. Where is the work there and the responsibility of us to really be engaged in that way? And I'm guilty. I'm accountable for that. I should have known about that case. Yeah. I should have known about but what keeps us from engaging in that way, I wonder?
I think it's trauma, right? Like,
there we go.
That is traumatic. And I will say, like, I feel you, Gary. Like, I do activism, and I'm a digital campaigner.
You moved your hair out of the way when you say you do.
Yes, yeah.
Come on now. Keep going.
My homegirl, shout out to Crystal, she done gave me this twist out, honey. I feel like I'm Whitney Houston. You can't tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the things, like, no, to your point, like, so when I first started doing, especially digital campaigning, I felt like I had to watch every video. You know, I had to story, I had to watch every video. And it wasn't until I watched a video, and people send you, when they know you do racial justice campaigns, they send you stuff all the time. You get all these stories. And one time I got a video, a story about a little girl in a juvenile detention center in, I think it was, it ended up being in Cape Town. Mm-hmm. But they sent me the video, and they were like, oh, I think she got raped. Somebody sent me this, blah, 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 blah. I just could not bring myself to, because the thing about it is you hear the story, and then it's like you get footage, and for me, it's enough to hear what happened. But then you have to create this story around what actually happened. So, like, what I ended up doing was I didn't even watch the video. I just did quick, like a scroll of the thing. I cannot get that out of my head. And I had to step away from campaigning, from videos like that, videos like Janiyah McMillan, who, died after a keto restraint. Like, those images, like, get stuck. And I feel like it's what racism also does, in addition to all the many other things. It forces us to feel obligated to watch our people get tortured and know every single time, because there aren't people outside of us who are taking this as seriously. And I do think it's causing mental stress on our people. And I do think it's like 10 years or 15 years from now, like, how will our minds be, like, how will we show up?
And Chet, I think we're already seeing it. I think we're desensitized.
Yeah.
I think anytime, and I'm not gonna say whether you should share the videos or not, but the sharing of it, like the constant movement and how they go viral in such a way, no negative but it happens in such a way, and it's like, well, do we realize that's an actual body? Like,
Yes, it's a human. It's a human body.
Like,
Yeah.
I think about old slave writings and, after slavery and the kind of trauma that they felt when they watched their brothers and sisters be lynched, raped. This stuff is documented in writing, Enchanted. So when you talk about, I just need to read it and see it, and that's enough. And now we have visual aid to sort of pack on top of systems. It's very interesting.
Yes, I was like, and I saw Ahmad. I literally was like, like you look at it, you just be like, oh,
Yeah.
It's not like a movie. It's like that's a human body. Like that's a real person. And it made me really, even with George, I had to really take a break and be like, I can't look at it right now. Like I really, or even when I heard about Breonna, I was like, I can't hear about it right now because it's like I didn't got so used to hearing about something. I know it's gonna be violent. I know it's gonna be bad. It's like you don't even you just kind of brace yourself for the impact. And you're just like, wow. It's just like, it takes so much out of you. Because when I see these videos, I see a family member. I make it that personal. And, because it's like,
yeah,
it's personal. Like, that could be my sister. That could be my brother. Like, it's personal to me. And so it's very traumatic to see that, and I know only for their family members, because that's the last minutes of their family members' lives.
Right.
And it's being shared like a viral video. Or like, somebody like a little cat video, that go viral. Like this is just being shared, getting clicks, CNN doing videos on it. But for a family member, that's their last few minutes of their lives, and that's
What's interesting about trans women, I'm from Kansas City, like I said earlier, we've had the highest number of trans women killed in my hometown. Killed. And I've seen, the beautiful thing I will say is I've seen my mother and I've seen her community, Black women, of course, leading the charge, really sharing the information, sharing the posts. But when I saw that in the middle of the country, Black trans women are being killed, I was like, where's the care and concern? Where's the care and concern from them in a way that as a Black gay man, I feel almost guilty about some of the privilege that I carry in the way and the world I live in, that I don't feel like they have that. And I don't have an answer solution for that, but I think it's something important as we dialogue about Black Lives Matter. And Chanton, you work in this work, this can happen in tandem. We don't have to only talk about Black men dying. We could talk about it all.
Yeah.
We can and should.
Yeah.
And I think the intersections also allow us, it humanizes us. It allows us all to feel and be seen. But it also helps humanize us to other people who don't feel necessarily, because of systems of oppression, might not feel necessarily compelled to see us as full humans, I can't tell you how many times I talk to cis, straight Black men, and it's like, it's so hotep. It's so it's just like, oh my God. My friend Amber Phillips, who is so dope, she always says heterosexuality is the ghetto. And honey, and when I tell you dating these straight men, it is the ghetto. It's so much work that needs to be done. So much done.
I really do.
What's it like dating straight men though? Like as a Black woman, you have their ear, right? And so I guess, what are you hearing for hoteps or whatever what are you hearing from them that we could possibly, you know what I mean? Like
foolishness.
I would say, so one of the things, to be all the way honest, I don't fool with a whole lot of straight Black, just straight men in general. Like the main people I mess with are like Black people. So the main people in my community are Black. So when I say straight men, I'm talking about Black men, but I'm not saying any worse than what white straight men do or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
We're still on topic A, pronouns. Like pronouns is like, and it's sad because it's hard to get to the next step when you just sitting here. But I will also say it's even hard. But it's a lot of things. It's culture, like access to education, like, patriarchy hurts all of us, right? Not just, it hurts all of us. But I will say, like, one of my friends back home, like, we're still on the conversation around why replacing the word bitch with female for women it does not make it okay. Like,
Yeah.
to call, like, and he still, like, literally the other day called me up and was like, I saw an article and I just want to say, I still don't understand why. So why is it? I'm like, we've been having this conversation for 4 years now. So I just pray every day.
No, I definitely get it. And I would also say, because this, can kind of tie into, before I do that, I want to recognize Dr. Tasha Bradley, who's logged on. She's an amazing pioneer.
Doctor!
I love you so much, Dr. Tasha Bradley. And for everybody who's tuning in, I thank you so much. I appreciate it. It made me feel like we famous a little bit. But thank you for being a part of this conversation. Please type in any comments or questions that you may have. I probably won't know all the answers. I probably won't know any of them, but I can try to do something. But this brings me to the next topic. I have a lot of, and probably all do have a lot of white folk who are, our friends who are, they start crying, they're like, what do we, they just, it moves them. It's so much for them. And what is their place in this? What is a white person's place in this? Because I believe right now, which I'm happy to see, I've seen a lot of white people on the front lines. I have seen some white people in the media coverage stuff. I've seen white people protesting with us. And that's a good thing. I've even had white people call me and like, Jonathan, what can I do? And I like that. I like people who real and be like, what can I do, to do anything? And it's not about me. And they don't start with, I'm so hurt. I can't, but they just be like, what can I do? Because this is effed up. This is messed up. What can I do? And so really, I guess that's my question too. What is white people's place in the fight or in this fight right now in 2020?
I'll speak on this. Simply Be is a company that I work for, led by a white woman. Her name is Jessica Zweig. And she wrote a letter, and I think it sums up what she said. And what she said in that letter was, there's no reconciliation without atonement. And so I think what our white allies have to do, she canceled a lot of stuff, content that she was supposed to publish, missing out on money, different things of that nature. Because no, that doesn't solve it. But there's no reconciliation without some form of atonement. And so whatever your white privilege has afforded you, put it on display, sacrifice it in a way to help or aid your brothers and sisters in this time of need. That's what I would say. When I read that, I thought, absolutely, whatever platform you have, help us, is what I think would be one of the greatest gifts that I could ever ask for.
Yeah. Ray, you work with a lot of teachers and stuff. Like, what are you seeing now? Like, with meetings, I know they have a lot of emotions, and I know they're feeling a lot of things. What are you thinking?
Two different things. I'm not going to cater to the white fragility. I'm not going to. I don't care about white tears. I don't. If I'm in education, so my charge for white people right now is to make sure, like, your voice need to be heard. Like, I put something on my Instagram the other day saying, like, if you're a white educator and you teach Black kids, you need to speak the fuck up. Like, your voice needs to be heard. Yep. And if you don't have anything to say, you need to reevaluate why you're doing this work. And I mean that with all the passion inside of me. And so I see some of them doing that. And so right now, and I'm not, do not come to me asking how can I support, do not come to me asking me about like history and all that. You need to do your research. It's like we all do our research. But what I will push out to them is that you can support in different ways. I'm not saying you got to be a protest, donate, research local organizations that you could give money to. Talk to your folks, talk to your people, like talk to your racist siblings, talk to your mother, your father, and then also vote. Think about these people that we're putting in office. Like really think about, are these people values going to support everyone, or is it just supporting you? And so that's kind of like my charge and what I've been fussing about all week long. Literally before we got on this call, I was on a call with them. And just, these are the things that just kind of like, That's been kind of resonating with me. But as a Black man in education, I'm tired of we are always having to think about their feelings, and I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, like I was telling one of my coworkers today, she was like, yeah, I want to say it, but I don't want to be viewed as the angry Black woman. It ain't nothing wrong with being an angry Black woman. It ain't nothing wrong with being an angry Black man. You're going to be angry. Those are your feelings. I don't care. That's not, express yourself, because if you don't, we're giving in, and we need to push them. Where the new word of education is anti-racist. And so it looked like we have to really unpack what that really looked like in so many ways. We're not just talking about putting curriculum in front of kids. Curriculum, let's be honest, is half-ass. Like, it's not giving the full truth. And that's what you have to do the research. Like, if I think about DC, I live in Ward 8. I serve the kids in Ward 8. People look at Ward 8, people look at Anacostia as the ghetto, like it's hood. It's not. Anacostia is beautiful. But if you want to really support and you white, fight why there's only one grocery store in Ward 8. Like, get on top of that. Like, we only have one grocery store, and all the other grocery stores all the other wards have several different grocery stores, and it's to the point where I didn't find it here. I can go to Trader Joe's. Ain't nothing wrong with Trader Joe's. Or I can go to Whole Foods, or I can go, to these different places. So I'm really urging them to get in the forefront and be in the forefront of those issues, especially if you want to be anti-racist.
You giving a sermon? Come on and pray.
Listen, and I'm no Bible thumper, but the Bible talks about how he'll separate the wheat.
Come on. What do you do now?
It talks about how he'll separate.
Come on.
He had to use his hands when he's saying
Come on.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Let me get my pad. Hold on. Yeah, come on, Gary. Come on.
Okay, tell us.
Preach the word right now. I know the word. Preach it right.
Says I haven't read the Bible in a long time, but listen, the Bible talks about how he'll separate the wheat from the tares. And what you're going to begin to see in this next dispensation and disruption is your white allies that you thought were white allies are racist.
Yeah.
And you're going to see things begin to separate, and in a way that we're going to have to remove some things and put people in their proper places. But it's definitely going to be a separation of wheat from tares, because your true white allies will not shed tears in front of you. Your true white allies will not ask you to guide them through their own awakening. They will not do that. And so in this next, we have to be very conscious of who we're allowing in our spaces and who we're allowing access to us. Because I've even in my own circle had to say, well, I'm not answering that. I'm not responding to that. I'm not doing that. He is going to separate the wheat from the tares in such a real way in our own community and in theirs as well. Sorry, Enchanta, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, that's what I wanted to say, because I think I'm such an empath in that way. And I love women, and I love all women. And I think I didn't recognize until now how sometimes we coddle our people that we're close to when it comes to racism and when it comes to things of that nature. But I realize it's going to bubble up. The time such as now that things are going to bubble up, and we're going to have to begin to call things what they are. And we might not be friends no more. We will not be able to do business no more. Yeah. And people are being called to the carpet on things that they've ignored and negated for so long. And the only question that I begin to have is, we should never stop calling them to the carpet. No. We should never stop calling them to the carpet. And Shantan, you could probably speak on this a little bit more, but I was talking with a friend of mine, and I said, when we look at protests in the 60s and 70s and how it sort of repeats itself, it took years of sit-ins, years of protests. There didn't have to be dying bodies in the streets for them to organize and do this every weekend. And it seems like we only organize and formalize when bodies are being filmed. It's like Martin Luther King, they were out there every weekend, even when there wasn't anything going on, until change happened. And I wonder when we get to a point where it's organized in a way that's like every weekend until legislation is put in place, every weekend until this happens, not just in a way that's like every time it's filmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to shut you up.
I will say that organizing is happening so much. It's just the media doesn't cover it.
Talk to me.
Yeah, so like Reverend Barber used to have, I can't remember if it was called Witnessing Wednesdays down in like North Carolina, where like they like it was kind of like occupying a space in the legislature, if I'm not mistaken. And they did the same thing similar in Kentucky around voting rights. And like when people do occupy, a lot of times what I've seen is like the media always doesn't cover it. Like I will say like it's kind of like, you know, we went to college. I remember like I first got into activism around Jena 6. It was like a big, you know, that was the thing, like Jena 6. And so we went to college and I came to DC. I tried to do this professional thing and then I ended up getting back in organizing. And since I've been back in organizing since I was 26, I haven't went a year without countless campaigns. Yep. I can't even count how many protests there have been, but that's not sexy all the time. And so you don't hear about it. And the media doesn't cover it. And I definitely feel like we need to start holding the media more accountable. Because they have this horrible narrative. They are the ones who are able to basically shift the narrative. And they create this horrible like thing like, oh, well, like, people care now, but it's like, no, everyone has cared. And honestly, if you're a campaigner, you run campaigns, it is so hard to get the media to cover your campaigns if it's not already like a natural. And that's why social media is so important, because all of our stuff gets driven by social media, and then the mainstream media picks it up. Once like there's already like a public outcry on social media.
Yeah. And Chinta, what is the Black media's place? I mean, we have yet to really dive into Black media and how they cover us and where we place them and put them. I mean, are we using them? Or are they being utilized in a way? Or what do you think? Like,
I definitely do. I definitely do think that Black media, especially like the rude, we even see like, what are the TS,
you about to say T.S. Madison?
I love you, T.S. Madison. Is this thing recorded?
Not, I know, I'm sorry. It's not World, I was going to say World Star, but it's not World Star, even though they're coming around.
Yes, they are.
It's not World Star. It's, y'all know who I'm talking about.
The Breakfast Club?
Who are you talking about?
Beyonce? No, you know.
Anyways,
Fantasia.
The Shade Room. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But you do no. I hate
TMZ.
Yeah, I hate TMZ.
Also is like, but I will say there are like, so Black media definitely has a place in all of this, and I will say I do appreciate Black media coverage, because a lot of times they're covering things that a lot of other mainstream media isn't covering.
Yeah.
So there's like things like Black Voices, you know, that the Washington Post does now. Like we see Teen Magazine, Teen Vogue, I'm sorry, that's picking up a lot more various types of stories since Elaine is there. Yeah, she's not there anymore. But yeah, so I think Black media definitely is still vital and crucial and important. I don't think that they get funded as much as they should.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the Blavities of the world are definitely needed. And from my perspective, as far as like campaigns go, they're the ones that will pick up a story way quicker.
Yeah.
Than a white outlet.
I also think the power of us like following these the Black media, and also just uplifting them in ways that we haven't done before. Like people go in Shade Room for the tea, which ain't no problem. You want to know what's going on. And we need to have the same energy when it comes to these other media outlets that's covering things that's really, really important for our community. So I really want to kind of just push people to make sure like they are following these things that are going on, so they can be in the know of what's going on. I did the other day too, like with how Timbaland and Swiss Beats doing the whole verses, little things with all the celebrities and stuff. I know
you call it little? It's pretty big.
But it's big. But what if we did that? Like, what if we create that for us? Like, Erykah Badu and Jill Scott broke records of how many people was
Black women
doing that. Yes.
Black women.
Let's take that same dollar and keep it in our community. So it just had me kind of thinking about media, how we can use it to really uplift our community and just also just keep us informed about everything that's going on.
So I guess that leads to kind of like the last point for tonight is ways to get involved. And I think Ray brought up a great point of like following those like media outlets and Shannon saying, you know, making sure you're educating yourself and not putting on that I gotta wait for the news to talk about something. She was the one who held me a charge a lot about that. Because I used to be like, hey, Shannon, what I need to know about this? She's like, you just need to know. Like, don't look at it by yourself. It is so unfair to put that pressure on somebody who knows, you know, oh, that's their job. Like, you know, that's their job to do.
Yeah.
You can go and read. You can go and do research. You can go and look at these.
Don't act like I wasn't, because we are friends.
No, she loved me. She was real sweet to me, but she was just like, baby, you know, she's real sweet. She was like, baby, you can look at it too. Because I used to ask her all the time, now what I need to be doing? I need to, she's like, baby. So, I mean, but honestly, you know, what is a way that I know for me, I had a conversation about with like some of my white folks I work with, and I was like, you can do this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because some of them in the South, because I live, you know, I know y'all up north kind of, in the South, they really don't know sometimes, and they really are trying, some of them. And so some of them be like, well, do this. I try to give them something concrete to do, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, now let me see you do it. And then if it doesn't manifest, then I just know what you're saying then. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just gave you 3 things to do, you know what I'm saying? And so what are some things that you think that you can tell just anybody, like, you know, who don't want to go out and protest? They don't want to go out there because corona is still real and they're making your nose and your eyeballs. So you don't want to get corona in your eyelid. So what is something that you can do to get involved, to be engaged? You know what I'm saying? I might want to just sit at home and get engaged. I know some people are social media activists, so they'll post everything. And I believe that's a way of getting the word out there. And I believe in this time, you have to do something, though. You need to be doing something. You know, so what is something that you would say, for everybody, what is something that you would say, tell a friend if they want to get involved? Anything?
You kind of go back to what I feel like I was saying earlier. If you really want to get involved, understand the people that we're trying to put in office. Understand, like, see if their values match yours and if their values are really support and what they're saying to uplift the community. Read. Ask people some books to read. I just got through reading Stamped. I want to go give you a book right now. What is in there? Just how it just spoke about how racism started and how we're still seeing it to this day. My big thing too is also go at it with those people who are reckless at the mouth, who don't feel that they should uplift others. Like, challenge them as well. Like, don't be silent when your family is being disrespectful about other cultures, about Black people. Speak up. And I'm really kind of just representing white people, I know, but that does kind of apply to Black people as well. But those are just some things I think we can do.
I also would say, you know, you also can donate, use your money if you got some coins.
Yeah.
Donate to some causes, especially bails for people who are being put in prison. Donate to bail bonds in that city. Please, if you got a little coin, donate it. You know what I'm saying? And give that, donate it. You know, if you have a friend, you know, and they're doing a campaign or they're trying to protest, share their information. So, well, you know, in a safe way, because I also don't want police to come and, you know, destroy anything. But, you know, share and support them in the way that you can, in a way that is safe. You know, and then also this right here. Vote. Please vote. We have to do that. We have to vote. We have to get him out. Vote, please. That is another big way. Please vote. Vote. Primaries in Georgia are next week. Go and vote. Please go and vote. 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 Vote.
Let me know when you're ready, baby.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got it. Go ahead.
Let me know.
It's that tequila. Go ahead, Enchanta.
I forgot my wine on this one.
Yes.
Me too. I was stressed.
Jonathan has stressed us out before this, y'all. But no, I'm just saying. This is good. So I just want to share a couple of things, mainly for Black folks to do in this time, who are seeking ways. I definitely support folks who want to go out and protest. I also think that, like Ray was saying, and Jonathan was saying, like the donating to bail funds. So National Bailout is a Black brand bail fund. They're also the ones behind Mama's Day Bailout.
Yeah.
That happens every year. So definitely encourage you to donate to them and the Bail Project. Specifically in Kentucky, because Breonna Taylor, a lot of protesters are getting arrested and things like that. Even Attica Scott, the only Black woman state rep down there, her and her daughter got pepper sprayed the other day during a peaceful protest. The Louisville police are completely out of line.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to get involved, to learn more about like your prosecutor. Vote, like, so in majority of places you vote for your prosecutor, and the majority of prosecutors run like no one runs against them. But in your area, I definitely encourage you to find out more about what's going on with your prosecutor, and you can go to Winning Justice. It's winningjustice.org, and learn more about not only your prosecutor, but you can also learn about organizing happening in your area, so you can get more involved that way. There are a lot of initiatives around Black men happening, because there was like a 13%, I think 13% of Black men voted for Trump or something like that. So there's been a huge effort this year to organize Black men. One of those efforts in particular are Black Men Build. It's called Black Men Build. And you can find that at ROCS, rocks without a K, ROCS.online/Black Men Build. That's a good place to go. And then lastly, I will say, because I can go on this list forever.
No, we need it. We need
lastly, the last two I would give is, especially if you're a young person between 18 and 35, I encourage you to join Black Youth Project 100. It's an organization that embodies doing all things through a queer feminist lens. So definitely very intersectional in their approach. And then if you just want to learn more and stay in the loop, you can go to Color of Change. Is the largest racial justice organization, and you can go to their Facebook page, Color of Change, and it'll show all kinds of petitions and all that kind of stuff to help you get involved. Me, Jonathan, and Ray actually had a text-a-thon for Color of Change years ago at the house. And they're always having fun things like, stuff to do, but also the justice work that you can be a part of.
And I have one more organization. If you want to also just donate to me, I don't mind, giving my Cash App out, if you want to just, support in any type of way.
So I double stamp each and everything, every organization, every way that each of us have said. I want to take care of our spirit man, because I firmly believe that Sojourner Harriet had quiet places because they knew it was a long journey ahead. And so I encourage Black people to, first of all, if it's overwhelming, just go get quiet. Yeah. Go get quiet and give yourself grace, because I know it's a lot of information. Yeah. I know it's a lot coming at you. But I have to say, there's a long journey ahead. And if we don't take care of ourselves spiritually, I don't believe we'll outlast it. And we're the generation to carry out what our ancestors dreamed of. And so I encourage each and every Black person to, first of all, get quiet and listen. Listen, because I believe our ancestors are talking. Yes. I believe that they're speaking to us and guiding us in ways that we never imagined. And so I encourage us to give ourselves grace and to be quiet. So on top of donating and doing all the things that we can, take care of yourself spiritually, because we got a long journey ahead of us. And if we don't, I don't think we'll see or be able to outlast the journey that's ahead. So take care of yourselves. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Gary, I really want to piggyback that. That's very important, especially during this time. There's so much going on. We see so much, like it's a lot to process. So it's really important to just lean into your support, lean into things that make you feel better about yourself. Do that. That's very, very important. And I thank you for mentioning that as well.
I do too. There was Black Feminist Futures is a group, and they held a protest today that was basically people building altars across the country as healing spaces for like Black folks to come and like, you know, do what you need to do. But I definitely appreciate you bringing that up too, Gary, because that's really going to sustain us.
That's an excellent closer, actually. I think that's why we all are here right now. Just to close out and just to say just a little bit more of understanding. And I always end it out with just a little bit more love. Give yourself love. Give yourself so much love and grace. Take that time and just speak that over yourself, the love. Take a moment. Take a moment. You don't have to give nothing to nobody else. This is for you. Take a moment and give yourself some love. And thank you everybody who tuned in. Like, look at y'all. Like, oh my God, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Share it. We're live. We're gonna be not live. We're gonna be here every Monday. We'll be here every Monday. So please come back and see us with just a little bit more. We thank you so much. Have a great evening. Go eat you some good food. Get you some cake and some chicken, and have a little cocktail, and have a lot of love. Bye.
Love y'all.
Mwah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Just a Little More. Please share, like, and subscribe. And tune in again next Monday for some more conversation. Love you.